I'd like to open the meeting of the Zoning Board Board of Appeals meeting for June 17, 2004, Town of Champlain. I'd like to welcome Pam Demore, the board, and Warner not to be absent because I don't think her chairperson. Roll call. Pam Demore.
Present.
Kathy.
Here.
Joe.
Here.
Bruce. Here. First application we have is number 22712, Hunt True. This is the property on Bayshore Road. It's for a special use approval. The names of the adjoining landowners are Thomas Whiteman and Mateos. Describe the location and size of the proposed project. The parked mobile trailer. Proposed use of the property is seasonal. Describe the building. Proposed to construct none. Describe the use of the property currently existing, seasonal, with a screened area. I can't read that. Well, he has a 7-year plan for building. And he has a screen house and garage. Describe the land use adjoining properties, seasonal. Okay, we've had this before. Any comments from the board?
I'd like to make a motion that we adjourn our meeting going to public hearings for the 4 public hearings.
Second.
Roll call. Pam?
I just say yes.
I'm trying to get caught up to speed.
Joe?
Yep.
Bruce?
Yes.
And I vote yes.
Vote on this after.
Mr. True is here. Are you still, have no plans to do anything to the property to improve it? Or,
I mean, I've gone as far as I can right now. I'm going to do right now. It'll be a while. I don't have any plans, you know, written down or anything, or when I'm going to build exactly. I'm not ready to retire to be moving in here as a permanent resident. I originally bought the property as a seasonal property to use for recreational use, and I've spent several amount of money in just upgrading the property. It's unbelievable. When I had it all engineered and everything, they made me put in a built-up septic system, which cost me $10,000 all by itself with everything I had to bring in there. And we had to bring electricity in, and then which cost another $1,000. And I had to put a well in and everything. But then I built the screen house that I built, and I put another small building on there for storage. To actually build a house at this time, I do not have current plans on hard copy of anything at this time.
Vicki, how many times have you reviewed this? Bring us up to date.
It was brought up in February 25th, 2003 was the last action taken by anybody, county board, our board.
When did you buy this property, Mr. True?
The actual year that I bought it, I don't,
So 2002.
yeah, around 2002.
At the time that you bought the property, we had these laws in effect. And I know we looked at this last year. I'd like to go by the same motion that I made at the last meeting, is that by July 1st of 2005, that Mr. True, I know now's a difficult time, but at least have something on paper, what he's going to do, what he's going to build, and that it's got to be completed within, what's a 5-year? You first came in front of the board in 2002, right?
Yes.
2002. That it has to be completed, that the house has to be completed by July 2007. That'd be the 5 years, right?
Okay, the one thing that we have here is we have county health department approval for a septic system back in 98, so that's been there.
When did you buy the property, Mr. True?
I'm not sure. It has to be in that area. It might have been 98 even. I'm not sure. I don't have my deed with me. I've had it longer than 5 years. No, about 5 years. We put the septic system in, we started in 98, and they didn't get finished until actually 99. We had all the stuff that we had to do. Unbelievable. I didn't know septic systems could get so expensive.
What was it cost before? You haven't done anything in this previous year?
All I did last year was brought in more soil coverage that I had to bring in before I built that greenhouse last year. And then the electrical and the well are all in. But as far as building, not in the last year. I put a deck on the greenhouse last year. I got a permit for that.
Is there any more comments from the board?
2007.
Well, it first came in front of the board actually in 2002.
So that's 5 years was pretty much at 2007.
It was kind of missed years prior to that. I don't think it should be penalized for the mistakes that in the past. And by a year from now, I don't think it's difficult to give him a year to have a blueprint, so what he's going to do, and the building has to be completed by July 1st, 2007.
Are your intention is to build by 2007, or?
I hadn't, if the money was there, I suppose I could, but I certainly don't have the money to do it. At current building costs, it's very difficult to say that you're going to, if price comes down, it might be a possibility, but right at this moment, I can't say yes.
Still will have to come every year.
Absolutely.
I think
I think it's fair.
I voted against it before, but I'll make the motion.
Well, you have a motion, I just need a second. The motion is that he has to submit a plan by 2005 for constructing something rather than have a trailer there, and the plan must be completed by 2007. Do you have a second to the motion?
Yeah.
Joe?
That's July 1st, 2005,
Yeah.
July 1st, 2007.
Can I ask a question? Is there a limit on the structure? Could it be just a summer residence, or could it be a small place, or does there a size limitation?
No, it has to meet building codes for as a resident.
In order for the trailer to stay there, it has to be a residential structure,
Okay.
which means it has to be a dwelling.
So it could be, but it could be like a year-round cottage or
Oh,
something
yeah.
like that?
Sure,
Okay.
sure. And the issue is, Pam, too, in that area on the Bay Shore Road, there's several of these properties that come to light over the last year, 2 years, that people use almost like a campground. And they were given a permit under section 425 of the zoning ordinance years ago, which basically says that you're allowed a temporary structure on there
Until you build a property.
until you build it, but the limitation of that is 5 years.
Okay.
And I think the intent was that if someone wanted to move, like say, a mobile home on a piece of property with the intent that over a period of time they were going to build a home, that was the intent. Certainly the intent was not to create
Make it a trailer park.
or
campground, yeah.
And we've been pretty consistent in policing that particular requirement over the last at least year to 2 years.
But he's not
Barring
required to
prohibition-
build like a 2,000 square foot house. I mean,
No.
it could be
No.
like a 500 square foot summer cottage or something.
As long as it meets building code. But as long as we see that there's some headway being made every year, we've been very consistent in enforcing, then we've been granting the extension of these one-year permits.
Because they're showing goodwill.
Right, because there's some effort being made towards the construction of a permanent residence, whether it be in the form of a septic system, a well, a foundation, groundwork, whatever the case may be, the installation of power. As long as there's some kind of headway being made towards that, we've been generally granting the one-year permit. But we've been pretty rigid as well as saying we need to see something.
I agree. Okay, understood.
So that's what the motion is, sorry.
We have a motion and a second. Any more discussion? Roll call vote. Pam? Kathy? Joe?
Yep.
Bruce? Yes. And I vote yes. Okay.
I'll receive something in the mail, I presume?
Correct. You got the permit again for another year, Mr. True.
Thank you.
Now we have application 23800 for Lawrence Hazel, an area variance. Names of adjoining landowners are James Favreau, Point Fair Road. He needs a variance setback of 4 feet. Describe why the area variance is necessary. Refer to attached drawings for further details, it says. As drawings. Will undesirable change be produced in the character of the neighborhood? The answer is no. Can the building or structure be constructed on the lot without the area variance by changing the location or size of the building or structure? If not, why not? Yes, replacing existing structure. Describe impacts, if any, to neighboring properties, improving appearance of property. Was the alleged hardship self-created? Is it not applicable? You have maps. So you're replacing a boathouse? It's going to look nicer than it does now. You're just enlarging it a little bit. That's correct. Is there any comments from the board?
I think it's going to be an improvement.
Yeah.
I go by that, I think so too.
That's not better county. Is it then better county?
Yes.
I thought I had that.
I'm not so
If
sure.
the county had any
I'm not
comments?
so sure it has to go to county. The Corner Firs is a town road, I think it's a county road. So I don't think it's had to go to county.
Local issue.
Okay. Any comments from the public? Do we need a motion to close the public hearing?
No, we have other public hearings.
Okay.
I make the motion to accept the variance for 6 feet. It's a 6 by 6 variance on the side.
Motion by Bruce West, seconded by Kathy. Roll call. Pam?
Yes.
Kathy? Joe?
Yep.
Bruce? And I vote yes. We have application 24500, Newbold Arceau.
We're all set.
That's it.
Yeah, you get something in the mail saying it was approved.
Yeah. No, I'll be by one of these days, but there it is, pick up the permit, so. All right,
Yeah, Julie should have it by Monday.
very good. Thank you very much for your time. Okay.
Thank you.
Point.
The Darso application is for Ridge Road. It's for a special use approval. Names of adjoining landowners are Rocky and Linda Bob, Sanazan Warehouse, and Andre Bedard. Describe the location and size of the proposed project. Soft Ridge Road, approximately 3 acres. Describe the proposed use of the property. Parking area for trucks belonging to Cisco Corporation, no more than 15 trucks, tractors, or trailers. The building that you propose to construct will have an office building. Single-family residence. Describe the use of the property currently, and it's a single-family residence with 2-story horse barn for personal use. Describe the land use of adjoining properties, one-family home, convenience store, etc. The Bonds is a single-family home, Bedard's is a single-family home, and a commercial warehouse by Sanazan. We also talked about this before. Move those trucks.
That did go to the county.
And this did go to the county.
Yep.
It says, action taken, a local issue, 8 yes, 2 abstain, 2 absent, and 1 abstain. The following comments: the town should make certain that adequate site distance is available for the driveway entrance, and that a caution sign regarding trucks entering the roadway be placed on this road at the applicant's expense. Additionally, the driveway should be located as far from the hillcrest as possible to improve safety and site distance. Sheridan Gardner, chairperson. Any comments from the board?
took pictures of this a couple days ago, look at them as far as sight distance and what's there for the entrance. There were some questions about that at the last meeting.
I drove by there today, and there's a good wide entrance there. No problem with trucks getting in.
I'd like to make sure that we define what a truck and a trailer is, or it says 15 trucks and tractors. In my mind, it should be like one truck and one trailer, because sometimes they pull two.
Yes.
That would be two trailers. So I think we should define that as, if it's 15 and it's like 30 pieces, a truck and a trailer. It'd be one truck and one trailer.
Do we have a visual definition of the town?
Is actually a residence at this property? Or is this going to be like an office where the house is?
No, it's gonna have a separate,
Actually, in the pictures.
That was my question. Is the office going to be a trailer, or is it going to be constructed with another?
the trailer.
It's an office trailer.
An office trailer.
It's not a mobile home, it's a
No, it's an
specifically
office trailer.
designed office trailer.
Then the drawings is such, so the house and the garage.
So this house
Okay,
and
that's
garage, is
adjacent
that,
to it. This is where he lives, he has a barn
is
back
this his
here.
residence here?
This is where he's buying booking
His
and stuff.
residence here?
Better, this is what's there now, his house. This should all be back in here. On this side.
It's 15 single trailers, or is that?
So it's an whole property.
No, the trailer's 10 by...
No, he's talking that trailer.
Are they going to be
before
double
with the
trailers,
tractor.
count as one, or is it going to be counted as?
Yeah,
They gotta use double trailer when they go to Auburn.
Yeah, they're short one anyway, you know, they don't take more room than a long one. They're short trailers. Once in a while they have them, but not very often.
And it is a permitted route use, right?
Yes, trucking is allowed in that zone.
Any comments from the public?
What size is the entrance and the exit roads?
Do we have the?
It's all of that, which is well over 100 feet.
Yes.
I mean, it's one solid span of blacktop. There's no trees, no brush lines, or nothing in the middle of it. You know, it's wide open. This is approaching it from going south.
Is the trailer that you're going to use for an office, that going to have a septic system?
Yes. I'm gonna have to bring the water, you want water, and, well, it's on just for your bathroom in there, you know, because I'm gonna make a septic tank, you know, so,
Does your septic system have to meet the county, or is there something else?
Oh, if you put a new septic system in, yeah, it has to be approved by the county.
yeah.
Correct.
And we talked about lights at one time. If you put any lights out there, you said that you possibly putting one light around the trailer. That
Yeah,
should
right in the
shine-
middle, I might put a post, you know. put
That
a-
should shine down.
Yeah, yeah, just shine, it ain't gonna be no spotlights or nothing.
The lights that shine
Yeah.
down.
Yeah.
Matter of fact, I might,
Have we heard from the neighbors how they feel about it, and is this going to be something that's going to be visibly offensive to them?
The neighbors did comment at the last meeting, and I think one of them is here tonight, and you'll have a chance to comment. Any more comments from the board? And we'll open it up to the public. Mr. Giso, is there any?
Well, I personally don't have any problem with U-Ball, but as far as the trucks, I know the way the traffic comes over that road, and I personally feel that it could impose a traffic hazard being at the bottom of the hill.
Well, we're going to put warning signs up, right? That this is the truck entrance, 500 feet or 1,000 feet, whatever it is.
So that's a town road.
It's a county road.
County road.
That's a county road. That's what I thought you were saying. I thought you were saying town road.
I thought it was too, but now it's a county road.
goes, pays for that, does the applicant pay for the cost of that? You gotta approach the county?
I would assume so.
That was under their cover. County was already recommended.
I mean, and in addition, we have to stick to the anyway, right? So if you're going to make any kind of motion, if that's what you want, just because the county says it doesn't mean it's done.
County health.
Or the county planning board, these are their recommendations.
Well, I was thinking of that even before the meeting. There should be some kind of warning sign. Any more comments on this application?
Just one question. For many years, the piggybacks were illegal on some roads. Was this checked in with DOT, see if they can travel that road, piggybacks?
No, I didn't check with the DOT. Right?
No, it should be checked before you go too far.
Well, I would assume if Mr. Garso wants to put that in, that would be up to him to check on that.
Because, you hate to put that much money in it and find out that DOT won't let piggybacks go in.
I think they're allowed to 2 miles.
Because-
A certain distance.
They gotta be within 2 miles.
Yeah, but legally, I mean.
Oh, yeah, because they allow 2 miles from 87 with double trailers. And that don't happen very often, you know what I mean?
Hope not, it only takes once.
Yeah,
Just figure that, bring it up before it's too late.
Next door has tractor trailer traffic in town.
Other comment?
I just had a question. What are the time periods we're looking at for pickup and drop-offs of trailers? Because the residents close by are in close proximity, and 3 o'clock in the morning pickups and drops-off are going to be disturbing.
I think right now they come in around early 6 or 7 o'clock in the morning. I'm not sure.
Did they tell you what time up?
yeah, most of the time they do that. They leave at about 7, 8 o'clock and they come back about 4 o'clock in the morning, They go there with food all over, you know what I mean? Like prison and then more
So they will be coming in at 4 in the morning?
oh yeah, they come in
They
at
come in, don't they come in from Albany at 4 o'clock in the morning?
yeah, I know, that's what they do.
That's 7 days a week too.
How many trucks do they usually bring in the morning?
They probably got, most of them about 9, 10 trucks, you know what I mean? But I put 15 in case, they ever,
Most of them trailers that are parked at Goldie's right now are all piggyback.
Is there any noise that they have to unhook and then they
No.
back in and hook up?
But they leave their trucks running at night when they drop their loads, because it is food. So that'll be running all night long.
In the winter.
yeah, I'm sure you won't hear it. The one with the hear more is my daughter across the road and me. And bid out, don't care, anyway, you don't.
You plug it in.
I live near the Rutland and D&H, and they used to run the engines all night long.
I know they've been at Mr. Gooley's place for well over a year, and I've had no complaints about any noise.
I think
throughout the
what
winter,
they do
throughout
at
the
night, they
summer.
plug it in anyway.
Pardon me?
They plug it in.
Yeah, they plug in. They're all electric units now.
At Goldie's too,
There's no residents around.
everything's shadowed by his business, by his restaurant.
There aren't any houses in close proximity that border the land.
That might want to be checked on too, because working where I work in refrigeration, our warehouses in the town next to residential area, they weren't allowed to have refrigeration trucks or any kind of things that need to be continued running in a residential area. It was considered noise. It was against the noise ordinance, so that might have to be checked too.
Them trucks aren't touched, they're tuned right in also, they'll leave soot. Everybody's vehicle, everybody's house, it's gonna be covered.
How close is the bond house and the guard house to
I
what's
would
proposed?
say, about 200 feet. Bid out about 400.
This is an allowed use.
Yep.
So these residents live in a zone that's zoned for trucking?
Trucking.
zoning way back when, was felt that's where they wanted trucking, so that's how that came about.
Okay, letters were sent out to people, to the bonds and to all the barracks, and there was no response back from those individuals. They would be the closest ones to have any complaint, as far as noise.
I'm aware of it.
I talked to him. Position to it. I'll make the motion.
I have a motion by Joe Duke, or the motion's by
To accept his proposal, providing he installed the light, take care of the septic tank system, and what else? Put sign, an
And the
exit,
sign.
an entrance sign.
The signs, we have to,
At
those
each
should
side.
be up the road.
Yeah, but also
500
up the road,
1,000
yes,
feet.
yes, yes.
whatever the law allows.
Yeah. But you should have a sign on each side, one for entrance and one for exit.
We should have a definition of a truck, sure.
Yeah.
You had here.
Make a division for the trucks.
Whatever your definition is.
So what? You got any certain amount he's gonna be able to have in there? What you said, 15?
They ain't gonna be 15, but.
Well,
9 usually.
no more than 15.
No.
No more than 50. Tractor and trailer. Right?
A tractor and a trailer being one unit.
1 unit.
So you could have a total of 30
That's right.
different pieces of
A
tractor.
tractor and a trailer is a 1 unit.
That's what I have here.
Do we have a second for this application 24500 with those conditions? Second by Bruce West. Roll call, Ann?
I'm going to abstain, though I don't know enough about this decision.
Kathy? Joe?
Yes.
I vote. Bruce? Yes. And I vote yes. So is that approved even though?
Yes. Yeah, absolutely. If I'm
Everybody ever come back like we did last time? So it's approved.
It's approved.
All right, thank you.
All right, the last application we have is 24700 for Richard Welch, area variance. He lives on Paris Mills Road. Names of adjoining landowners, Betty Hebert, Raymond LaBelle, and Dan Grove, is it? He's asking for a 3-foot side variance. Describe any area variance, why it's necessary, include applicable dimensions and measurements in your description. House burned, new house will be about 3 foot closer to the property line. We have a diagram.
Which a tractor and a trailer is one unit. So
Will
it's a
the
total of
undesirable
30.
changes be produced in the character of the neighborhood or a detriment to nearby property owners? If the area variance is granted, please provide evidence. No, the side where the variance is needed is on the side where the property owner does not live. The house is vacant. Can the building or structure be constructed on the lot without area variance and changing the location of the size of the building or structure? If not, why not? No, because of the location of the garage and septic tank. Describe impacts, if any, to neighboring properties if the variance is granted. None that he is aware of. Any alleged hardship, is it self-created if it was? No. We have diagrams.
That one's got a county.
I don't have that either. Yeah, I do have it, I'm sorry. I do have it. So this was, went to the county. The action was a local issue. We had, vote recorded was 8 yes to approve. No, none. 2 absent, 1 abstained, and no comment. Any comment from the public?
Is Mr. Welch here?
Yeah, he's a red.
How far is your house going to be off the property line?
got 13, and then you move it over 3, so it's gonna be about 10 feet off the property line.
Originally, that's what I thought. It's probably not as close as I thought it was to begin with. So it's probably, it might be 13. I might not have needed to do this, but just in case.
No, we need 25.
So he's asking for 13 feet as well. Right. Cut me off very quickly. Basically, he had a fire there
Yeah, I
this
know.
past spring, and he's
Yeah.
trying to rebuild, get back into a house, so.
I don't see no problem with
I don't see the problem. The least problematic things we got tonight.
I make a motion to accept the 12-foot variance for this application.
We have a motion by Bruce West on this application. Second?
I'll second it.
By Kathy. Roll call. Pam?
Yes.
Kathy? Joe?
Yes.
Bruce? Yes. And I vote yes. Need a motion to close.
I make a motion to adjourn the public hearings and go back to the regular meeting.
Motion by Bruce West to close the public hearing. Second?
I'll second it.
Seconded by Joe Duke. Roll call.
Yes.
Pam? Kathy? Joe?
Yes.
Bruce? So, I'm saying this nice and loud because our secretary's not here and she told me to talk loud and make sure we get every motion. Now we have review of all applications. We have application number 24400 from Michael Champlain. This is for a special use. It's on 942 Perry's Mills Road. That's the neighbor, I'm sorry. Name of Leo Fortin.
Slot.
Okay.
Describe the proposed project. Use my property to put on my self-contained camping trailer for weekend use during the summer months. Describe existing property, same as above, with a temporary permit since 1999, renewable every year. Explain how reasonable return cannot be made by using the property for permitted use within the zoning district. Being retired from the Canadian Army, I cannot afford to build the property. However, spending my weekends at the trailer and mowing the lawn and improving the lot is what I want to do during my retirement. Explain how the alleged hardship relating to the property in question was unique and does not apply to a substantial portion of the other properties in the same zoning district. I've already used the property with a temporary permit for camping while I work to clear the lot. I am now keep it clean and mow the lawn every week. Will the project alter the essential character of the neighborhood? Give reasons or evidence? No. Being in the country and in the wooded area, the property is excellent for this type of use. Is the alleged hardship self-created? No. In 1977, I planned to build on the property with an approved plan. I poured concrete slab, ready to receive construction. Being in the Army, I got sent to British Columbia, and then my wife got sick and passed away. During that time, the property was rezoned, and the use was not allowed to build where the slab was. Now, we talked about this for 3 months in a row, I think.
Yep.
We have a letter from Mr. Fortin. Well, I think seen the property. It's sheltered by trees and hedges from the road. Any comments from the public? Any comments from the board?
This one maybe.
You've had this property for how long, Mr. Champlain?
1977,
And when was the camper put on there?
1999.
His original permit does state that on it, for 5 years while it was built. Unfortunately,
past, you have no plans to make any improvements?
Well, I can always improve the property itself, but I'm not planning on the building. One suggestion that you made the last time was maybe to put some columns at the road or just to show that there's something that I can do.
Well, you weren't here at the last meeting, and it was suggested that that's very cosmetic and it really doesn't address the problem. I think we mentioned also a few months ago that perhaps you could approach the board, the town board, and ask for rezone the area. Because without any plans to build, it's a definite violation.
Can I ask a question? Why was he not allowed to build on his slab? Was it too close to the property line? Or?
He's allowed to build.
Because he said because of rezoning, he couldn't build on his slab. That was
When
one.
I first moved there, 2 feet from the lateral line was what was required. Now it's 25 feet. My cement slab is already at 2.5 feet from the line. Well, I can't build on that.
Could he apply for a variance to build on that
You can apply
slab?
for a variance. Definitely give you the variance for
That
the
much
property.
cheaper than, the expense of building there.
So in other words, even though you say that you didn't build because you couldn't build on the slab, you really don't plan on building.
I had plans for a while in building, and I put a lot of money in bringing the dozers in, put dirt and all that. Then with the money exchange, they didn't marry me. And now I have a woman in my life, so I can't say women cost money, but they cost more than if I was alone. So they're still considered now. But
Is she good with a hammer?
Pardon me?
Is she good with a hammer?
She's good with everything.
But you don't have a septic in there either.
No, it's self-contained.
And you have no plans of putting a septic system in?
The only thing I have to say is I've been out and around the last couple of weeks, and I've got 2 or 3 of these very same situations where I sent people letters, where they have a trailer in the woods here, there, it's weekend camping, no septics, no wells, no water. Some may or may not have power, most don't. So whatever you do, it makes it hard to enforce.
Because it was self-contained, there was no water, no electricity, but yet I walk in the trailer, flip the switch, the light goes on. Turn the radio on, I watch TV, turn the tap for water comes. I need to go to the washroom, I go to the washroom, so it's contained. Every day home every weekend. The gray water goes into the outside tank, and then I empty that at Mr. Cortez. So everything is, it is self-contained. To me, was a retirement.
I have a
The problem
question.
is that you get these permits to renew with the condition that the property be worked up towards permanent structure.
You first rezoned all the properties, like the different certain properties. Not saying, I'm sure you didn't rezone them all at the same time. Were any of these campers or people that are notified that lived in campers or things ever notified at that time when the rezoning was gonna happen?
Yes.
Before it happened?
And if there's any changes to the zoning has to be published and notices posted, and that was all done at that time. And actually, when the zoning was implemented in the town, the whole town got zoned. So it wasn't, I mean, since that time, there may have been certain changes to certain zoning districts, but I think, you know, this particular provision was implemented at the time that zoning was placed on the whole town. If campers were in certain areas and they can prove they pre-existed the enactment of zoning, they would technically be a pre-existing non-conforming use and would be allowed to continue. In fact, the matter of Mr. Champlin's case, his camper wasn't placed there until 1999, which is subsequent to the date of zoning, and therefore that's why he's here.
So basically, he has 3 choices. Have the property rezoned, decide to build, or move the trailer out, right? Those are the 3 options.
That rezoning means that, you know, I gotta go for the town, so if
Right.
they allow one, then they rezone everything. I think it's a domino effect. Mr. Trombley's been honest from day one with us.
Yeah.
Yep.
And,
we're reluctant to.
It's, yeah, when we say about rezoning, Pam, the only entity that can rezone is the town board. So that's a town board decision, not our decision.
Right. Which would be more paperwork on his part.
Uh, To some extent, I'm sure, yeah.
How difficult is it for him to rezone? What steps does he have to go through?
Well, again, it's really a decision to be made by the town board, but with all due respect to Mr. Tremblay, the town board's got to be very, very careful about what they do with that respect. You certainly can't spot zone, meaning, let's just say that Mr. Tremblay's property is okay, and we like Mr. Tremblay, and he's been honest with us, so we'll allow him to do it there. Well, that's spot zoning, and that's not allowed, and it's not permitted in the state. If you start rezoning whole districts, and what you're going to see in that particular district will be a lot of campers, which Mr. Tatro will probably be not too happy with, I would imagine. And nor may be the people who live in that particular zone district. And that's not a criticism of Mr. Tremblay, because we've seen his property, we've seen pictures of his property. It's very neat, it's very orderly, it's maintained.
The same thing.
Well, exactly, and that's the problem that you're faced with.
Right now, he's classified as an R1, which is residential. 3/4 of all the land in the town is R1. So if they were to change the zone to allow this, you could potentially have campers popping up over 3/4 of the town and everywhere. So when they did the zoning, they looked at this. I mean, look how long it took when we did for the adult use for the zoning and all that.
So what kind of improvement are we asking him to make? Are we asking him to put in like a septic system or electricity or?
Well, electricity, it doesn't really matter, because we've approved some that people are never going to get electricity to, because of the distance from the road. We can do generators, but it's the septic system which is the main thing.
In his case, though, he's pretty close to the road, so I'm not so sure that'd be a huge expense. But like those cases down Bay Shard Road certainly require electricity down there. And then they're right joining the town road.
But again, if I was to put in a septic system, you would give me permission to keep my trailer then.
No, you have to show progress towards the building.
It'd be a well, and it'd be another thing.
We would need to see some type of progress. Now, what we've allowed on the Bay Shard Road is if we see progress being made, that the camper can stay there as long as some progress is being made. We wouldn't tell you you have to move your camper if you're going to do those improvements. Yes.
For how long of a period?
Started.
Septic tank, you started.
Could we treat this as saying this untrue?
Last year.
No, it's already been in 1999.
This is the 5th year.
Yes.
This is the 5th year, but I was told 4th year that was.
And again, as you mentioned too, Bruce, these things have kind of gone on for a period of time, unchecked. In the last couple of years, they've been much more diligent, or certainly Mr. Tatro has, in policing these kind of situations and making sure that they comply with the zoning ordinance. So I'm sure Mr. Tremblay, when this camp was placed in there in 1999, wasn't aware that there was any problem with him doing what he was doing.
I think we just, my feeling is I think we need to give Mr. Tremblay another year to put a septic system in. And in that year's time, you can either put it in, or you can sell the property, or try to sell the property.
I guess to make some decisions.
I think we need to see a septic system, because this is really kind of the 4th year, but only like the 2nd year.
Septic system as well.
Or-
Yeah, or electricity.
One of the three.
One of the three.
But then once this is done, let's say that was the cost to keep the trailer on, I'd go for it, but then it's not going to let me keep the trailer.
No, you have to
Once
keep
it's
adding.
in,
Not at the end, no.
It's not the end, but
At the end, you'd have to construct some type of residence or a structure on that parcel.
Maybe this new young lady would be.
You could build her a one-room building.
Well, I'll tell you, this is why I got the trailer there. To keep her happy.
Then you're really.
We can keep her happier.
I make a motion that we give Mr. Trombley till July 1st, 2005, the opportunity to make an improvement either with electrical, septic, or what, with a well. At that time, he needs to come back and reapply, and if he hasn't made a progress, then we'll have to cease.
Violation.
You know.
I'll
I think we
second
need to give a motion.
Okay, we have a motion by Bruce West to approve the application with those conditions, and seconded by Kathy to approve. Roll call. Ann?
Yes.
Kathy? Joe?
Yes.
Bruce? And I vote yes. So you got one more year. You got 365 days to think about it.
Good luck.
Thank you very much. Bye now.
Bye.
Moving right along, we have
Mr. Cole, I don't believe there's anybody here. They had a funeral or a death in the family they called. So this was tabled or should be tabled.
we have a motion to table application number 24500. We have a motion by
I'll make the motion to table.
Joe Leduc. Table this till next month, seconded by
I'll second.
Kathy. Roll call. Pam?
Yes.
Kathy? Joe?
Yes.
Bruce? Yes. Review a new application. No, I'm sorry, we have application number 24300, Janad. Special use approval for this phase 2 of their project.
Yeah, and on the agenda, it says review old applications. This actually is a new application.
This is a new,
Special use for the second phase of the same application.
Yeah, the other ones were applications that were pending, and then this one, this actually is a brand new application, which I don't think you've seen before. We certainly saw phase 1, but this is a brand new application.
can we approach it at this point in the meeting?
Absolutely.
Before we start, I just have one comment, that we've been over backwards for this people. When they first came, we rushed approval, and I didn't like the tone of this letter from the lawyer. If this cannot be resolved immediately, they will have no other choice but to find another parcel of land and relocate this business possibly outside of town of Champlain. And then with another line, it says, time is of the essence, like we're being rushed again. I looked over the application very carefully. I'll make comments later on. But the history of this board has been very cooperative. This line in here, that's a little confrontational, I didn't care for. That's the only comment I have. So, this is application 24300, special use approval.
And the applicant is here. Mr. Staywell is here, who is the attorney for Janad, who's the gentleman who appeared with the representative of Janad. He came in when Mr. Staywell came
Do you want me to read through the application first? Or?
I don't know if you need, no? Yeah, sure. That'd be fine. Sorry.
Okay, for names of adjoining landowners is Roswell Beeman and the Town of Champlain Industrial Development Agency. Describe the location and size of the proposed project. Proposed 8,400 square foot facility related to site work on the 4.0 acres parcel located in the east side of Route 9. Describe the proposed use of the property, a warehouse, maintenance, and office building for specialized tools and vehicles used by applicants for rock stabilization business. Describe the building you propose to construct. See the attached plans. Describe the use of the property. It'll be garage storage of 4,392 square feet in size. Describe land use of adjoining properties, industrial. We have more descriptions here. This is phase 2 of their project. I'm sure they would like to address the board.
Thank you very much. If you'd like, I could put a map up or a plan up on the clipboard there. It might assist. I'd like to begin by apologizing in language and letter. I guess the brief explanation is that business is business and government is government, and of course they're always eager to get going and moving forward. I'll get to where we are now in the project in just a second, but just to start with the background. We came last November with an application at the time when Mr. Beeman owned this land. He owns a sliver of 60 feet wide and then a large piece of land at the back of what is the Ashline residence and the North Country Malt facility just across the road here. This is Route 9 coming down, and this is the road that he had up to the entrance of the malt facility here. There's a house on one of these lots, the other lot is vacant, and at that time when we made an offer to purchase the land, we came in with the special use approval. Mr. Beeman as the owner signed it, and the decision that came out was, well, we understand what you want to do, and I'll explain that now, is there's a 4-acre parcel in behind the malt plant. And the idea was to extend the road down, to give us access, sell us the 4-acre parcel, give us a right-of-way over the to-be-constructed existing road, and we would have it for industrial purposes. There's industrial here, there's what I understand is a vacant warehouse. There's industrial here, and the intent of Mr. Beeman, I think, is to sell what he can for industrial purposes in behind on his remaining land. I think the decision of the board here was, well, we keep moving forward, but we don't see any comprehensive plan. We'd like to see what you're going to do, Mr. Beeman, with the rest of your land. We'd like a general development plan, and we also want to resolve the road issue, because when it was built, it was 60 feet wide, or that is to say on a 60-foot width parcel of land or strip of land, and standards are now that it has to be 75 feet. He did put 75 feet between what he sold us and what was already that it sold to the North Country Mall, but he kept on in his thinking that this could just keep going on 60 feet forever. And so we had that condition placed on the Phase 1 approval. And at that time, we then went ahead and bought it about, I'm not sure this was given in November, the decision. I'm not sure we finally closed in December. And we had documentation from his attorney saying everything was legal. We were newcomers and didn't realize to what extent the law or the history of this area affected either existing owners, future owners, development plans, etc. So, assuming, I guess, good faith on his part and everything else, we signed the deed. He put in the road, he left it on a 60-foot allowance. It didn't get built up to 7 feet. In fact, he didn't even conserve 75 feet on our strip, and he never made any effort to bring the rest of the road up to standard. He is the owner of the road. All we have is the right of way to use his road, and we're now in the difficult position of not having any title to the road to actually go in with a bulldozer and make it wider. And even if we bought land, which I'll get to know, we'll try, is we have no power to buy land and make this width bigger because we don't own the 60 feet. We could always buy the 15, but now we have another strip of land and no way to force him to accept it. In the last month or so, as soon as we discovered that there was this issue still outstanding, our first instinct was to go to Mr. Beeman. We went to his lawyer. The lawyer said, your problem, this road is fine, there's not any problem with it. 60 feet is fine, the city has no right to impose 75 feet, and would not budge. So we said, well, let's jump in with our sleeves rolled up. We went to the farmers, and we said, could we buy 15 feet, and we'll find a way of getting it into the city's hands so that the road is wide enough. And Mr. Farmer said, so you're in difficulty, are you? And he never came back with an offer. He said, I'll try and find a reasonable price for you. And I guess he never found one because he never phoned back. We spoke to the North Country Mall people, and they said they'd be happy to allow an extra 15 feet on the road allowance part, as long as they could just make sure the trucks can get in and back out again. Second issue, we went to the Ashlines and tried to identify and contact the owner to buy 15 feet or the whole lot, whatever it would take there. and the house has gone into receivership, we understand, through a real estate agent. The lot adjacent to it may not even be owned by the same people, so it may not be in receivership, and it's just going to become a legal mess that we haven't been able to unravel. So we tried. We also said, and we still say, if it took $20,000, $30,000 to get gravel and everything else, we'd be happy to upgrade the road, but we're still not on a 75-foot width, and we don't know how to achieve that. So that's
I interrupt you.
yeah.
I've spoken with some of the officials, and they feel that that's excessive, 75 feet. Even the state on Route 9B, I think it's 66 feet. So that the town may consider changing down maybe about 60, but it could be less than 75.
Just so you know, John, there's been some discussions with the town officials regarding that. I think generally, I can't comment what the town board might do, and that can only be changed by the town board. But from what I've heard, generally speaking, they feel 75 is excessive. Most town roads require only 50 feet. Now, 60 feet, because you have turning radiuses and things of that nature, especially when you're dealing with larger trucks, makes some sense. But I think generally most of these, I'm talking to Mr. Tatro, from what I've heard, I think there is some possibility that that 75-foot requirement could be lessened.
Okay. That's encouraging. That's fine. We're looking to work to find a solution. That's why you might have a tremendous amount of documentation from us. I tried to explore different avenues and say, okay, well, we can hang it on it. And if you would like to see this project go ahead, maybe at this point, just before looking at solutions, the context of Janot is it's a pre-built building. We're busy out in the field doing what we do during a living, and this is administrative infrastructure, if you like. So we've got Conroy and Conroy standing by to build it. We've purchased the pre-fabricated components. They're all in the process of being delivered in the next couple of weeks, and would be ready to start work whenever the building permit is issued. But on the monthly cycle of meetings, if we don't see that there's an issue, that's where the language came in at the end, which was, I got orders that, well, if we can't find a route to a solution immediately, even if the solution is not forthcoming, then it might be just simpler and faster to say, here, we'll take this lot. There are no complications. We've learned some lessons sitting with Mr. Beeman, and we could perhaps move in and have the building put up there. Once phase 2 is put in, and just briefly to go over it, the phase 1 is a rectangular storage structure with a material roof that's round over, looks like a bandstand in a way, with a big concrete foundation and gravel inside, and that was for over the winter storage last year. Phase 2, which has now been changed from this plan, I believe, I haven't seen the exact drawings, I think it comes out more, or it might be in this direction. You may have those plans in front of you. This is last year's map. This phase 2 is now going to have office, maintenance, and storage, and we could suffice with just this. So if we took it and put it on some other lot, they'd say, fine, then we'll fight with Mr. Beeman and tell him to take back his land because he hasn't met his covenants, and he can take the building with it. And anyway, at least we have a facility to work out. We've invested tremendous amounts of money in immigration and licensing, all kinds of things to be fully operated. We just imported all our vehicles into New York State, and we need an operating address for them. And they run around the country, but they're all licensed in New York. And we still have to stabilize the New York operation, or headquarters. So that's why the timing is sort of significant. Again, that's all
John,
the language.
you just hang 1 second. I'm just going to change the date.
If we did approve,
Thank you.
probably be under conditions that if Mr. Beeman sells anything else, he's going to have to improve that road, because I went through there, piles of dirt all over the place. The collapsed culvert doesn't even need a culvert. The berm is very small. You don't really need a culvert.
On Route 9.
On off Route 9. Also, an emergency vehicle could still get in there right now with its condition, but I would think he'd like to upgrade his property.
Turn around at the end.
Okay, if I might, speaking to Mr. Saywell previously, there is a letter that's been generated by Mr. Tatro after he met with the highway superintendent with respect to that road. And the highway superintendent made some recommendations with regards to that road, which include the replacing of the culvert, because that culvert apparently is collapsed, as well as other issues.
Doesn't even need a culvert. There's a warehouse right over here where the road has no culvert. It's the same exact entrance.
That's up to the state. The state
Yeah,
tells you
that's not a town decision. This is a state road. If it's a town road, then yes, we can make that decision. But that's really a decision that's made by by the state DOT, not necessarily, not even the highway
Was Mr.
superintendent.
Beeman intention to turn that road to the town when it's completed? or-
The town will never accept it,
He
the
said
condition
not.
it's in
He
now.
said- He said not.
Well,
I
that-
talked to him last time about it.
Yeah, well, that's another issue, but quite frankly, I know Mr. Beeman apparently, I should say no, but I'm assuming he has some interest in developing that land further. He owns quite a bit of land in that area. But, my position, quite frankly, the last time Janab was here, was I was very concerned about that road not being brought to town specs. I believe Mr. Beeman was here at that meeting and said that it was his intention to bring that road up to town specs. So, Janad's in a very odd and difficult situation at this point in time. I do believe something needs to be done with that road to improve it. And I'm not trying to put words in Mr. Saywell's mouth, but I believe they had indicated they would be willing to take some measures to bring that road up to, I'm going to say, minimum town specs. I do not believe Janad has indicated they'd be going to pave the road, nor do I frankly feel that they should have to pave the road. They don't even, honestly, own that property. They would, my understanding, be willing to take those measures, in essence, to receive some type of approval towards this project, and to at least show again to the town their good faith in wanting to do what's right in that area. But quite frankly, yes, they don't own that road. That road can only be dedicated to the town by Mr. Beeman, because he is the one who owns that road.
Plows it now.
We did last one.
You have to continue.
And I believe probably, I don't know, does the malt supply company do any?
I don't know if they considered, we brought it down and did it.
Okay, I don't know who did it before you guys
Probably the plow.
built, but at any rate, yeah, Mr. Beeman certainly does not. And I agree. We need to hold Mr. Beeman's feet to the fire to some extent, whether that be towards further development or in some ways violating him because he has not complied with some of the regulations with respect to that road. He's the one that's in violation of the town's regulations at this point, not necessarily Janad.
We're just frozen, we're not in violation, he's perhaps in violation.
But again, there's kind of a two-pronged issue here. One being that the fact that they need a special use permit to build this phase 2. Secondly, there's an issue with respect to road frontage, because again, they don't have the necessary road frontage because of the situation with this road and with Mr. Beeman. I spoke somewhat to John last week when this came up for site plan review from the planning board. I told him last week that other than just some general comments with respect to the plan, there was no determination made with respect to the project. That's really why we're here tonight. I guess the second question I had tonight, with respect to all that, is this is another special use permit. It's basically on a state road. It still may require some type of approval by the county planning board, even though this is phase 2 of that project. And I'm not trying to push or delay this project, but it'd be nice to know what the town board's position is with respect to the access road. If in fact they believe and are willing to give us some kind of indication that they're going to reduce the size of that from 75 to 60, that helps us all a little bit. I think it certainly helps Janad. It helps us because then we know we're dealing with what we're doing as far as road and road width regards to that road. Janad may also need to request an area variance as well, because technically they don't have the required road frontage, because what they're asking for is not on a per se town, county, state road. Again, they're in an unusual predicament because of the situation that's presented to them and to us. Quite frankly, again, by Mr. Beeman not living up to what he's advised us and advised them that he was going to be doing. So those are generally my comments. Whether we can make a final decision tonight, I'm not sure, because I think it does need to go to county, and I think they do need to probably also apply for an area variance with respect to the road frontage.
I have a few more or less conclusion remarks, which is we tried to look at what avenues were possible to try and handle the situation. I'll start backwards. You now have, historically since March 17th, the subdivision regulation in place, which is what is designed to solve all of this. When somebody carves off a piece of land, you have a process and criteria which says roads have to meet the town specifications, dedicated or not, or that they have to be dedicated. And that's the solution to the problem, which means under the existing regulations that are now in place, he cannot sever off a single piece of land, a piece of parcel of land without going through that process. And the immediate response is, no, you have no access, solve the problem, come back. So there's no way with the standing criteria that he can go ahead with that. So you have your solution solved for tomorrow, or unfortunately in 50 years. And the question is, what do we do now with the status quo? Regarding the town, I would say that they had this plan before them. They knew the entire project, which is the entire project. There's no phase 3 contemplated in any time. This was sort of extra land that could be used sometime in the unknown future. So the town has seen the whole thing. They got the whole picture and said, oh, we don't see any county issues when it went to the county. So I'm not sure that it does have to go back. They said, oh, everything we see in this is local. You guys resolve it. You might want to check that and see if that's not the case. That would be. Second of all, in terms of the solutions, our first conclusion was possibly the town specs don't apply, because the way the town specs are written, it says no road will be dedicated or accepted for dedication by the town unless they meet these specifications. Well, technically speaking, if you need a technical argument to say, okay, I guess that's how we let them through the hoops, is to say, well, nobody's asked this road to be accepted for dedication by the town. And as you said, it wouldn't be if one asked, but nobody's asking. So if you think that in the next 2 to 20 years until another parcel is sold, that this will always be a non-town, plowed, maintained by the owners, the users, then you don't really have a maintenance problem. We're only left with the safety issue of, well, we've got a road that we have problems with, fire trucks, etc. So maybe there's some solutions there about saying, we'll put in the money. I'm sure Mr. Beaman won't mind us putting in a roundabout at the end. That's one issue. We might look at widening out the existing cover surface so that we've got room for vehicles to pass. That doesn't solve the 75 feet, but at least it gets us in. And we'll say, look, it's for security reasons for us. They're standards, but for those reasons, we're a user. We want ambulances in when we go up in flames, and therefore we'll put up the money, do your mind. And I can't see why he would say no, but anyway, we can only do what we can do. So that's one way, is possibly saying, well, we don't have to worry about the long term and the short term. It's true, maybe it doesn't apply to a non-dedicated road, so let's remove the condition and allow the place to proceed. The second one is an area variance, and I don't know within the scope of what you have before you, we can tick off the box and say area variance on our applications. It's all the same information, it's all the same issues. We've had the same period to look at it, and all the people are here, so I'm not sure whether an area variance couldn't be granted tonight based on that. The criteria seem to apply, and we put them down in writing that. So that's the second solution. Third one, I guess, is the negative one, which is if there's no way to solve the problem, then it's because obviously the criteria do apply somehow to our land, and if they apply to our land, then they certainly apply to Mr. Beaman. And if it seems clear to us that the town should take strong action against Mr. Beaman, and there lies the solution, not with us. So again, we're sort of held hostage, and it's unfortunate for everybody. And at least if we come out with a game plan, no, this is what's going to happen in some predictable way, we can calculate the dates and say we can make this work. If we go away tonight with no game plan and no sense of where we're headed, then I'll have to say we can wait and take our chances, or we can start looking for other land and sort of a race to the finish. Who gets the solution first? If we can resolve it somehow unpredictably here in the next month before we find some other land, that's great. Get away those. So those are sort of the options. And again, I'd just like to reiterate that between the time the moratorium on subdivision was taken off and the subdivision regulations came in, we got caught in the middle. If the moratorium on subdivision had been held up until the regulation came into place, then nobody would have been subdivided in this vacuum, and everything would follow smoothly. So I think that's sort of where we're at, and looking for your insight.
There was a lot of talk this past week or so since the planning board meeting about that road, the supervisors, some of the board members, and I talked to Rodney Brown and Glenn Cutter from the county planning department, and I asked them about our town law, which specified the 75-foot right-of-way, and they thought it was excessive. Most towns are 50 feet. Some go up, up from there, 55 or 60 or whatever. So I asked him what he thought about, trying to have this changed to a 60-foot right-of-way since that was there. And they felt that it was more than adequate. And the only reason that they could give me for the 75-foot, if there were going to be sidewalks on either side of a street, and you still needed ditching, but where, I mean, in a town road, where are you gonna ever find sidewalks? So,
Not necessarily not industrial parking lot.
no. So the consensus was that, you know, once this is resolved, the town, they're talking about having it switch back to a 60-foot. I researched the minutes from 1979 when this law came about, and apparently at that time, it was the state of New York Transportation Department's recommendation that they be 75 foot, and they automatically adopted them for whatever reason. I could never find any discussion in the old minutes and the records as to why it came about. So we assumed that they needed a specific law for town roads, and they just adopted that. And I couldn't find anywhere where it had ever been challenged along the way. From then on, it was modified in 1990, and the only modification was from an 18-foot paved surface to 20-foot. That was the only modification made throughout that time. So that's where that stands.
Would that open the door to an area variance specifically for this project? And which still leaves him non-compliant for future projects, which still leaves him subject to subdivision regulations for the future, and which still allows us to go in and widen the gravel bed and put in a turnaround, and perhaps regrade the entrance culvert or not. And if those things are still in violation, at least somehow it's easier to compel Mr. Beeman to do that, or do it in his place and recover costs, or get an injunction or something, than it is to start fooling with property titles.
I think there's a few things. Certainly, I think, I don't know if we can make a final decision this evening. What I would recommend is a few things. First of all, that we table this application to next month's meeting. That we have Janad submit an area variance application with respect to the road frontage, coupled with a special use permit, because you need both, in my opinion. I would request that the town board give us something in writing. Granted, we're not going to have time to change the local law per se this month or next month, but they can give us something in writing, at least directing, and I'm assuming they would direct myself to prepare a local law reducing that road requirement from 75 feet to 25 feet. I think that'd be a clear indication that that's going to happen. 60, I'm sorry, 75 to 60 feet. But that's a pretty clear indication that they're willing to adopt such a law. I think we do need to refer this to the county planning board because of the fact it is phase 2 of this particular project, and it is a new permit. Now they may come back and say local issue, which I think they may have said last time, but I think it is something we need to consider. What I'm hearing from Janad is they're willing to bring that 60-foot wide road area up to at least minimum town specs. Again, not paving it, but at least completing the repairs which have been suggested by the town highway superintendent to at least bring it up to minimum specs, which obviously we should be concerned about, and they are concerned about as well, because of safety, fire, police, ambulance, whatever the case may be, so that there is some safe road for vehicles to access in case something of emergency nature takes place. Sounds like they've also said, I don't want to put words in your mouth, John, but that they've indicated they'd be willing to construct the turnaround at the end or do whatever had to be done at the end to at least make sure that vehicles can turn around safely, whatever. And again, that'd be up to whatever the specs are of the town, minus the paving. With all those taking place, I could envision us, and all those getting answers and responses with respect to all those things, I could envision us making some kind of motion or taking a vote with respect to this project at next month's meeting.
The next month's meeting would be the 15th of July.
What would be required in an area variance application?
Mr. Tato,
What might already be here?
Mr. Tato, can you give me an application tonight, John? What you'd have to do, and I don't know if Mr. Tato in his package there's certain specific requirements, but it's in the zoning ordinance as well. If you look at the back, under area variances.
You could amend this one just to check area variance. It's the same information.
The
Yeah,
same
we have to
document.
reward it. I see that.
Because if you were to have to step over and check the box,
We're asking an area variance for.
there's not much
Yeah.
else.
There's some wording in there, their description and stuff.
Yeah, he's got you may want to. I don't have a problem with just initialing and checking that box. you may just want to check those requirements of area variance. Some of the items you mentioned here, I think more fall under the use variance part.
Of what was submitted in our documents.
Right, which you and I talked a little bit about last week. Area variance are things that are a little different, not a lot different, but there are little things that are a little different. You probably meet a lot of those things, but you may want to add something just to make sure you cover all your bases with respect to those requirements. So in fact, you may not need to submit a new application. Perhaps we could just have you can check that box, have you initial that this evening, and that could be the document that we submit down to the county planning board for their review and consideration.
Again, on the county planning board, at that point, what would they have that they haven't already seen?
Well, the new map showing the new building, and
This was-
whatever other information, we send them the application, so they would see what you're giving us. They would have what you give us.
We've already seen it.
Well, no, they saw the initial structure, but they haven't seen the new structure and/or these additional issues that have come up since then.
They saw the phase 1 structure and the phase 2 structure, and the road layout.
I don't think that it was phase 2 on that drawing when we looked at it in November of last year.
This is the map from the data. This is what was used. On the left top, October 17, 2003. On the new plan that you probably have before you, which Conroy brought in, you should have the actual building footprint now clearly, and I think drawings have come in for the building permit application.
Do we have the comments from the county planning board from last time?
I have everything here. Give me a few minutes, I can find it. That's fine.
Do they have to wait till the 15th meeting and then send it to the county, or can we send it to the county
We could send
before?
it, we could send it now, tonight. I think we can make a motion to send it tonight.
But then we would be back here in a month.
Right.
On the 15th.
According to our council, that's necessary. In the summer special meeting?
Well, we have the building to be delivered, and it's going to be start the flatbeds pretty soon.
I know, we got a special meeting last night. I have no problem with a special meeting. I don't either.
The county meets the first Wednesday of July.
First Wednesday of July would be the 7th.
Yeah, the county planning board really didn't say too much with respect to the application last time. They found it was a local issue. They just wanted to, the only comment they added really was they wanted to make sure that there was no explosives that were going to be stored on site, which we talked about at that meeting in November.
Yeah. So, and that's why, I mean, they could have said, come back to phase 2, we want to see if anything's changed, but they didn't, so.
The square footage is the same. Yeah. These are all maps, the secret that was done on it.
Yeah, actually, at that time, the application indicated building footprint for a parcel erection, warehouse, maintenance, and office buildings, specialized tools and vehicles. Lab.
Say the office building, this was a notice to all the landowners, but the office building was included.
Yeah, it's included in this application as well.
Yeah, we received it last year.
In light of what I'm seeing here, I think I would modify my position with respect to this application having to be resent to the county planning board. I looked at the application, didn't mention the construction of all of these particular structures, didn't set a time frame or anything. And again, their comments were minimal at that point. And I'm certainly not trying to delay the project. I'm still a little concerned about the road width. I'd like to get some kind of definitive comment from the town board with respect to reducing that. So that can be removed as any type of issue. I think by them checking the box and maybe John modifying his application somewhat, we can consider that as the area variance application as well as the special use permit application. And in that case, we perhaps could schedule a meeting sooner, a special meeting sooner if we so desired, because of the fact that we don't have to wait for planning.
Shall we get some clarification from the town board though?
Absolutely.
When does the town board?
Town board.
I think we have to.
The July 13th. That's pretty close. Yeah.
Well, let's say hold a special meeting. Do they have to have a meeting for that? Yes, they do.
I think they would want to pass, they'd have to pass at least a resolution requesting that local law is actually there.
Well,
Zoning?
No, it's a local law. A local law, but our subdivision incorporated that local law, so we have to change both.
We have to be by local law. A resolution basically authorizing myself or whoever they want to use to modify that local law, reducing the limit from 75 to 60.
We should send a letter to the town board recommending that or requesting that they do that.
Yes. I would say so.
Which was yes, to one or the other.
No, I was asking, we should send a letter to the town board requesting that
Requesting or
change.
recommending?
Requesting,
Okay.
what's
At least,
recommending or
I
requesting?
think we could do both, requesting and recommending. I think in light of some of the conversations Mr. Tatro has had, and I certainly agree, any town road specifications I've seen, many towns that I've worked with, usually it's 50 feet. I've seen some go a little bit more, but generally it's 50 feet. So 75 is much larger than you would see normally.
So do we request to go to 50 or to 60? 60. I make a motion to send a letter to the town board requesting and recommending that they change it from the present 75 to 60 total.
And then speaking with this, well, you made a motion, sorry.
Second.
Second by Kathy, now discussion?
It's no discussion, it's another comment after you're done.
Okay, roll call, Grant?
Yes.
Kathy?
Yes.
Joe?
Yes.
Bruce? And I vote yes.
Yeah, the next step would be really scheduling, when we would want to schedule, if you want to schedule a special meeting in advance of the 15th of next month to review this particular project with respect to the special use permit and the area variance.
But how can we schedule a meeting if we don't have a field in the town board? We have to wait till we get,
We're going to have a public hearing on this, right?
Yes,
We have the public hearing on phase 2.
because it's an area variance.
Kim? Okay, I'm in favor of a special meeting, to review the area variance and sometime in July or whatever, it has to be in the paper 5 days prior to us having a meeting.
And John, just so you need a public hearing, you need one, and it wasn't scheduled for a public hearing tonight.
Yeah, I agree.
Because of the timing, so.
If it was an area variance, I understood the special use didn't because it's already been publicly heard and this was, I suppose, a technical review by the committee to see if phase 2 was compliant with phase 1.
Again,
But
it's something we could still do by special meeting in advance of next month's regular meeting.
Okay, but next month's regular is the 15th and the town meets the 13th, so we might as well just wait till the 15th.
Does the town board meet? They only meet once a month.
Yes.
I was wondering if conditional approval or tentative approval of an area variance, but you can't do that, special permit, that if we can get the feedback from the town, then this is approved, then it wouldn't have to come back again, but if we go the area variance route, we have to come back, so that doesn't solve the problem.
Mr. Tatro was mentioning that the town board has on occasion in the past held special meetings. So it's not something that's out of the realm of possibility for that to occur. Obviously, we can't commit to that to you this evening, but
You'd have to write or call the supervisor, explain the situation, and ask them if they would hold one in light of the fact that
there is some urgency to getting this building constructed.
When do you expect the building delivered, a week, 2 weeks?
That's what I'm trying to figure out. We have site preparation to do. I checked the project schedule. what I was wondering was, could I recommend to my boss that he go ahead with site preparation, which doesn't, I understand, require the building permit. I'm sure we've got 2 weeks' work to get the place starting to be in order, and I understand we can't pour concrete until the permit is issued. So that gives us a fair amount of leeway.
Site prep work can be done without getting built.
I'm just wondering what, I'm already happy to see a request and recommendation to the town that sort of handles this width issue. I don't know if you can put anything else in some kind of a motion that allows me to go back and say, look, it looks like all the issues are handled, we just have to wait through the process. And I don't, for one, see any problem with the public hearing, it's just a question of waiting for it. But if I go away with nothing, then I can't say, well, this is going to be fine, we just wait a month and it's slammed down, everything could come up. So I'm wondering if, I don't know if there's an approval in principle, if there's some kind of a motion that says, considering Jan Odd's expression of interest in contributing to, bringing up the road, the physical elements of the road to adequate standards, and provided we can, get into the town or something, positive about this project. I don't know, something.
I don't think there's any negative feelings.
No. I think everybody here, everybody in the town, as I mentioned to John before, I don't think anybody is against this project proceeding. Certainly we have to follow the legal requirements or try to comply as closely as we can, which is what we're doing with respect to the request to the town board, so this project can proceed. It's hard for us to make any motion that number one, because we're going to have a public hearing scheduled tonight to really approve or anything. But I don't think there's any question that the town would like to see this project proceed and do whatever we can do to hopefully have it succeed and progress. And I think the only motion we make is to table it, and we can certainly also request that the town board hold a special meeting to consider this issue as soon as possible, and that we would also consider holding a special meeting. There's certain notice requirements that have to be complied with respect to that, but prior to our July 15th, 2004 regular scheduled meeting date.
But is there really a need? He says in two weeks to site preparation. It brings us up to the week anyway.
Rather than having everybody turn their calendars inside out for 7 days advance, we can live with that, with the 15th. I'm just wondering, what can I say back home to say the 15th, but it's no problem, we can start doing site work, feel comfortable. Everybody has the right to object, and there will be discussion, but no issues were identified that appear relevant.
Yes, one thing I can comment on is that certainly when this came before us before, I don't think anybody came to complain about the project or even issues raised with respect to the project. I would be somewhat surprised if there were any new issues raised, especially taking into light the fact that Janot is willing to take whatever steps necessary to bring that road up to specs, at least to minimum town specs, and to ensure that the fire safety, health, etc. is protected.
The only complaint that we had last time was from the Ashline residents. They were at Mr. Beeman and the malt place from 1, so and they're no longer there. So, but that was the only one, and it was a visibility thing over a fence versus a brush line.
Something perhaps that could be reassurance would be, even though the meeting wouldn't be until the 15th, you've got to get notices out, and it's not that component. Perhaps the town, if there are going to hold a special meeting, if they could pull people together in a week rather than in 3.5 weeks, as soon as you got some input from them, you could advise us, and then I could say, look, not only have they recommended to the town, but it's actually taken action to see about reducing the width, and so now all we have is the road construction to deal with. We can get on Mr. Beeman right away and find a way to get the gravel in and do the job.
I would say that by Monday you would have your answer as to when they would hold their special meeting. Tomorrow being Friday, contacting everybody.
So the best thing for us would be an early meeting of the town. And you could hold
they would
the
set the
meeting
date by then. I'm saying they're going to have a meeting on Monday.
So we need a motion with the recommendation that the town have a special meeting within the next.
I think we already made that motion to do that. I think we just need to make a motion to table this to next month to that time review the special use permit and the area variance.
I
We have a
public
comment
hearing.
from-
And have a public hearing
And have
held
a
at that
hearing.
time, that's correct.
We have a comment from the public?
Yeah, just one question. The Ashline property, that's, owns that house, they still own it? What if, before, there's no complaints with, going on with this project they want to do? What if they sell it to someone else, or what if, someone else takes it over and they haven't had any idea of what's going on and they complain? Is that gonna shoot everybody down?
It doesn't really appear that it could happen like that, because it's receivership and it's all tied up. But we've been trying to reach the receiver to buy the property because it would be a very quick fix to buy a house and a lot, cut off 15 feet, give it to the city for the road, and then either use the house for whatever, or sell it, or rent it, or the gain and loss on trying to handle that end of the thing would be insignificant compared to the headaches we're having now. So it's not like money is not an issue, but at least it gives us a solution. And what I understand is because it's in receivership, nobody can really buy it tomorrow.
Basically, what you're saying is when it goes up for sale, you're first in line.
We'd certainly be happy to do it. And the other thing is there's a large vacant lot here, so that assuming the municipality had to condemn 15 feet to get 75 if they really needed it someday, that would be a beautiful adjunct to this lot. That's what we thought of doing, putting in a row of cedars and using part for the road, and this house would just be ameliorated by it. So I'm not sure somebody would necessarily have really good grounds to complain.
Yeah, I mean, the legal requirement is we need to notify whoever's in the tax rolls as the owner of that property. If it's the ash lines, that's what we have to send notices to. If someone else comes in and looks at the property, wants to buy it, our requirement is to try to notify everybody. Now, we do an article in the newspaper saying this issue is coming up for public hearing. So all we can do as a town is try to alert people as best we can. And by saying it to whoever the property owner is on our records and putting the necessary public notice in the newspaper is really all we can do.
And my only question was because the house is, or the property per se is abandoned, and they sell it to someone and out of state.
This isn't allowed use in the area though. So if somebody buys it, they should know what's allowed.
It's a permitted use, what they're doing.
So they could complain, but not necessarily prevent the project.
Correct.
This project.
Yeah, yeah.
So we need a motion to table.
I'll move to table.
Kathy moved to table with,
I'll second it.
This application.
seconded by Pam. Roll call vote, Pam?
Yes.
Kathy? Joe?
Yeah.
Bruce? And myself, yes.
We have to take a date.
Also, make a motion for a public hearing too.
The motion is part of that, that's your public hearing, application 21300, 15 July.
Okay, Kathy has moved for a public hearing for this application. Seconded, Bruce. The public hearing will be what date? 15th. Roll call, Pam?
Yes.
Kathy? Joe?
Yes.
Bruce? And I vote yes. See, we're very cooperative.
You never do. Just finding the solution.
What's the thing,
We have one more application. Eric Thibodeau,
Thank you, John.
new application. Are we ready for that? Or you keep your breath here? This is application 24800, area variance. Variance. I don't see any list of adjacent landowners. Setback is about 27 feet from rear and 21 feet from the side. Pre-existing lot is the area necessary, including the dimensions is 130 feet by 155 feet. It says sketch below, we have nothing. Will an undesirable change be produced in the character of the neighborhood or detriment to the nearby property owners? The answer is no. Can a building or structure be constructed on the lot without the area variance by changing the location or size of the building or structure? If not, why not? Yes, but would have to no access to the garage. Describe impacts, if any, to neighboring properties. None. Was the alleged hardship self-created? The answer is no. Pre-existing 130 by 155 lot. And we do have a diagram on the last page. new, so I'm not familiar with it.
It's IC4.
It's industrial, commercial, or there's different listings for
Wait, pardon?
industrial, commercial.
She wants to
Okay.
locate a
And
trailer
then it's for, there's
within 3
different
feet of
uses.
the property line.
Have you gotten this booklet yet? Okay.
Yes, I have it. I haven't had to study all of it, but I just
You
got
know
it.
you're new.
I just got it yesterday.
Page 3, Pam.
You
No,
do
no.
your homework?
Don't read it all.
How come the garage can't be moved closer to not that quick a variance?
Actually, it's a mobile home. The garage exists, and it was a mobile home.
Okay, how come that can't be moved forward?
Is there someone from the public to address this?
There it is, that's there. Yeah. If I moved it forward, I'd lose access to my garage doors. So I'm putting the garage doors to the side, so if I move it up forward, there's no way to do what I want to do.
She'd look better if she sat back further.
Yeah, if we already tried making it, measuring it out, and it don't look good. Send it forward.
No, this is all pre-existing here.
So the garage, you're putting garage doors in the existing garage, is that it?
Yeah, on the other side, so I can't move the trailer forward, because then I won't be able to get into my garage.
Is our building inspector familiar with this?
Yes.
This is the trailer.
He wants to locate a trailer that he purchased this property, it's pre-existing. Anybody doesn't know where it was, this is where Northern Blacktopping used to have their operation. They had a garage there, and they used to keep their trucks in that little office. It has a well and a septic on it. Eric's purchased that property, he wants to set a mobile home up on there.
See, and I own around them, all the way around them.
And we talked about moving the mobile home up closer to the garage, and it would infringe on where he wants to put a door here, I guess.
And it wouldn't look nice being that close up. So he wants to put on the line, actually right on the line.
And what's your relation to him?
His father. Well, someday you'll own the land behind them, but not right now.
Who are the adjoining property owners? You own all of them?
I own
He owns
around.
all the way around.
All the way around. That's another reason he bought the garage too, because we own all the way around. He brought the within interest in it. Being a well and everything's there.
No, first name of adjoining landowners. There's
Oh,
nothing here.
oh, yeah. But we didn't do the public hearing.
So you own, like,
Send out the
all
public
three
hearing.
sides?
Yep.
Okay.
Whole three side, and I own about 30 acres behind them. Well, he's supposed to get a lot on the other side of the road, but he bought this with garage there, and I said, well, just later on, because there's 3 deeds there. I got 3 deeds over there.
It was a deeded lot in Champlain.
So all we need is to set a public hearing on this application, right?
Yeah, for footage, I guess apparently the footage, you changed it to 30 feet in lines now or something?
He needs 25 on the side, but he needs 30 feet in the rear. He's only got 3 in the rear and 4
So
on the
that's what it
side.
is, on each side is 25?
The rear is 30. 30
So any lots anywhere is 30 feet?
It depends on the zone,
Depends on the
but
zone.
most of them
In this zone, yes. In this zone, you need 30 feet from the rear line, and you need 25 feet
On the side, so it used to be 15 on the side, doesn't it?
This isn't that public water, folks.
No.
All right, so that's fine.
No, he's seeking a 27-foot variance on the rear.
Right.
He wants to side it 3 feet, and 21 feet on the side because he wants to be 4 feet off. So it's a substantial variance, but
It looked better too. Sitting way up, wouldn't look as good. This way you can tax him. He can welcome the club.
So if we grant this, the neighbors won't.
you know, it's nothing to the back.
Father's the neighbor.
That's what I'm saying. Just check and see if everybody's awake.
Probably own it someday anyway.
Alert.
No, there's other sun blockers.
So,
Like a-
we need a motion to set a public hearing and to send to the county for comments.
I'll make the motion.
I don't know if you need to...
We have a motion by Joe Duke,
County?
I'll second
Oh, is it?
it.
Okay.
second by Pam.
Yep. That's county road.
Pam?
Yes.
Kathy?
Yes.
Joe?
Yeah.
Bruce? Pay attention.
Yes, yes, but I
You're
have-
gonna get
I have
detention.
a question.
Oh.
White, Why can't he buy some land from you on the backside?
Because it's gonna be given to him down the road.
Well, why can't you give it to him so he wouldn't need a
You gotta
variance?
eat some black bread first.
Wow.
She ate black bread when I was younger, he's gonna eat a little bit. I'm not just gonna hand it over right now. He'll have it, he'll earn it. I see too many goes on that everybody hands the stuff over and the kid loses it. And I work too hard to get it lost.
The only thing I had is it's a substantial variance. And that's my question, it's going to be given to them, or it's not like it's, you got 62 acres there, and they like the .32 that you give them. You would be one less, like my comment.
Finishing the vote, I vote yes. That was to send it to the county and set a public hearing.
I vote yes, I just have a question.
All right, it's all right.
See, that piece you're looking at in the back, that's a separate deed, there's 4 acres there. All around him, there's two different parcels. I own, there's 4 acres, then there's 19 acres in the back. I got 3 deeds there.
So on tax map.
That used to be the old telephone company bought that years ago.
No, it's 19.3 acres behind him. That 62.33 looking at, that's
Oh,
actually a parcel.
19.3,
That's
yeah.
that parcel number.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's 19.3 directly behind this parcel.
All right, I think that's what he got. And I think the other side is 4 acres or something like
Yeah,
that.
it's like 3.5 acres to the west of him.
Right,
And you own that as well, sir?
yeah.
And then that little.
That's how they got it, yeah, that's, I think, how they fixed it up. Then the other side, there's a lot there.
100 by 155, that's your strip.
So you own the property that surrounds it?
Oh, yeah, he ain't going nowhere.
We're speaking to the mayor of Perry's Mills here.
Yeah, right.
Really, there we go.
He ain't got too far to go do the chores like that. I keep an eye on him. Look out the house, I can see him there.
Are we ready to move on?
Yeah.
Are we set on that then? Yeah.
Like I said, there'll be a public hearing July 15th. that's
July
what-
15th.
Yeah, so you have to back July 15th.
July 15th then?
Yeah, for the public hearing.
Okay.
Thank you.
Yeah.
The next thing on the agenda is the approval of minutes from May 20th. I have questions like, never mind. An approval of them? Well, we were supposed to be a 7 board, and we were treating it like a 5, but I think that accepting the minutes last time was unanimous, therefore there was no problem. Right. That's what my question was. So, we need a motion to approve the minutes?
Yeah, I'll make a motion.
Motion by Joe, seconded by Kathy. Roll call, Pam.
Have these minutes or minutes from last week?
Minutes from May 20th. So
Pam?
I'll abstain.
Yeah, she cannot vote on those, because you're
I'll
no.
abstain.
I'm just going down.
That's okay.
Kathy?
Yes.
Joe?
Yes.
Bruce? Yes. And I vote yes. And under new business also, I sent a letter to the board. They had not acted on changing from 7-member board to 5. So I got a letter to them on Tuesday because we had minutes. The month before, we had passed a motion and we wanted that. They had not acted, so I sent them a letter and they did act, and they are going to pass a resolution.
They're having a public hearing at their next regular town board meeting to change it.
From 7 to 5?
Right, but it has to be done by local law, right? But they have to initiate it, and then Mr. Rain does the law, and it gets filed at the state.
For the last 3 or 4 years, we haven't been able to find enough people,
Right.
and suddenly we have people, and I know these things have already started moving along. So I'm
Also-
very grateful for Pam coming and the other people
Yes,
volunteering.
I want to say also that Pam was appointed as another member to the zoning board, and Denise Savage was appointed as an alternate, and Mrs. Duquette, alternate on the planning board, right? Okay. I think that's all they did, I believe.
Yeah, I was like, yeah.
And it was a confusing meeting, believe me. Yeah.
Okay, moving right along. This item number 1 is the new business, rezoning of Allen Steve's property. I'm not familiar with that.
Okay, we don't have our zoning map here anymore.
We have a
I can use this and I'll briefly describe what the plan is. Now, Mr. Racine is selling, in the process of selling his property off of the Prospect Hill Road, which is right here. Paquette Industrial Park cuts through where Patriax is in the old Molson place, that drive. That's the Champlain Industrial Park. Where that intersects the Prospect Hill Road, which is just about right here, there's a deeded lot in there. It's 103 point something acres of land. The people that are buying all of his land are asking to have this rezoned because it's an R1 now into a industrial classification. They want to have an industrial park there. It's not a split of land, it's one deeded piece of land. It's 103 acres in one lot by itself. And they would like to have that all, that's their request anyway, but it's approximately right across the entrance on the Prospect Hill Road from where the FedEx building is.
Isn't that up to the town, or is it one recommendation?
Yeah, they're looking for a recommendation. Yeah, they're the ones that are gonna decide to do it or not to do it, but they're looking for input from this board and the planning board,
Who's made that request?
the town board.
I don't know, but who made the request to change?
Fleming Development Corporation. I believe I have a letter here from them somewhere.
What's their intention by doing that?
They want to, apparently they have a client that is interested in setting up some sort of an industrial use. I'm not sure what. But they want to market the land as an industrial park.
The land's more marketable.
Yeah, right now it's an R1 residential, and there's an industrial park across the road from that. They feel that they can get services from the village of Champlain, or it's a possibility, I should say.
Makes sense. So they want to rezone as an LI1?
Well, that's the recommendation we're looking for, and without knowing exactly what they're going to do.
Because that's an LI1 across the road.
It used to be. This is the Champlain Industrial Park now.
Right.
And we have no control of this area.
Right. Yeah, but it's an industrial park.
Yeah.
What?
I'm not sure what Champlain's is.
This guy says that the Racines own approximately 417 acres in that area?
Right.
On both sides of the road?
Yes.
On the south side of the road, is that industrial?
No. On the south side of Prospect, which is this right in here, this is the Knocker Road. It's an RM zone, but
That's not changed.
yes, that's what I was going to say.
So it's on that, so it's an R1 zone.
Well, that area would be had to be changed as well to do what they want to do.
No, the piece of land that they're wanting to change is a separate. They would be taking an R1 and that 100 acres, rezoning that into one of our existing zones.
It says in this letter that they're buying 417 acres bordering both sides of Prospect Street in the town and village.
Right.
So what's in the village?
He owns some land, around where their farm was. There's vacant fields and stuff, which is part of the village complex now, or corporation, I should say.
When you go over that farmhouse, what?
But isn't that all residential there too?
I'm not sure how Champlain, I mean, I don't know their zoning, so I would assume that that's residential.
But all this property isn't adjoining then?
No.
417 acres, I mean, one's not on one side of the road, one's on the other side of the road.
He owns on both sides. He owns on the opposite side of this Gamlaw Road, which goes up Gamlaw Road. He owns over in here. There's a gravel pit over there. He owns land in here. He owns in this area down in here, which is the village. And then he owns up in here also.
Can't see nothing on that.
Which some is in the village. Where I guess where the water tower is the dividing line, where the village and the town stops. Remember a couple of years ago there was an issue about the old dump in there, and this guy wanted to develop something in there. That's very, very close to the village line.
Yeah.
But the piece that they're specifically talking about is a deeded piece of land that's 100 and some acres. It's not all 400 acres.
Okay.
Yeah, it has boundaries and the tax map and everything. It's a separate lot, but it's 103 acres.
Is that the lot right across from, on Prospect, like right across from the FedEx building, right there?
Yes.
Yep.
Yes. We used to have a planned industrial park designation in our zoning, but when the village of Champlain annexed that industrial park, we did away with that in our book, because we had recommendations in there. I don't know if I still have all that stuff. But if we have a zone for industrial, what would you call it? LI1, I2, I3?
Well, there isn't much difference between, except for campgrounds and some truck stops.
That's for that.
They totally do that.
I don't know.
The basic difference is like campgrounds allowed in some and truck stops allowed in a couple. I doubt there are any truck stops.
Well, that's what I mean, you have to pick a,
But I'd rather see it as an LI1, which is
I think what they need to do is to come up with a new zone designation and specifically say what they want there. Because I read through most of those and they all have something that you wouldn't want there.
Especially if that's gonna be R1 that surrounds it,
Yeah.
you know?
Can we table this the next month to give us an opportunity to look through this so we can come up with some ideas? I mean, as far as looking at tonight, I'm just saying it should be an IC1 or an LI1.
Oh, yeah, I mean, it was just a, they're looking for a recommendation, a discussion, because when it gets to them, everything has to be.
I make a motion we adjourn.
Is it necessary to have a motion?
Motion to table.
There's no application in front of us, I guess, but they're looking for a recommendation, so I guess we need to.
Take some kind of action.
That we look at this, we table this for next month and go through the ICs and the LIs and come up with a game plan and if we suggest that they be changed. I think what our suggestions would be.
I think what I would suggest is I'll try and find the old planned industrial park regulations that we had. There must be some here someplace.
You send us out a copy.
If I can find them, yeah.
All right, motion tabled by Bruce.
Second.
Seconded by Joe. Pam?
Yes, yes.
Duffy? Joe?
Yes.
Bruce? Yes. Michael, yes. Next thing is rezoning of Robert Gooley's property. Remember you want to put campground, overnight camp?
Okay, I need to explain something on this. The way this started out, Mr. Gooley asked me about this camper deal he wanted to do where the truck parking was now, and I said we would ask the zoning board. And then we decided that he needed a use variance, or his other option was to approach the town board. So he went to the town board meeting, and he couldn't figure out why we sent him there. So I explained that what his options were.
Yeah.
So now they're asking for your recommendations again. I'm not sure they realize that they're the ones that have to change the zone if he's asking to have the zone changed. So it was a little mix up there in the process.
I think that's what the town board told him, was to come back to the zoning board to see if, to get the zone changed so he could do the camping thing
Right.
overnight.
We can't change the zone.
I know,
It's
that's
there.
what we told the board. He's already been to the zoning board, but they sent him back.
So they felt, it was like playing ping pong here. So,
Well, I mean, that property, there's been a few uses which have been allowed, or at least permits that have been granted for that property. What Mr. Dewey described to us last month, quite frankly, I think would be an awful use for that property. It's a restaurant already. At one point there was like a vegetable stand or bakery stand or something that was approved, which I guess doesn't exist anymore. There was the truck storage, which is gone now, and we go over on Mr. Garcel's property. But to allow campers or trailers to be stored, or I could just envision that turning into like a campground, even though that may not be really the intent. And I think that's.
It's not a very good
Not
thing for
a
people to
very
see
good
coming
location.
into our community.
That could be
Yeah.
very
See a bunch of cameras
dangerous.
all the while.
Yeah, but I think what Mr. Gooley was trying to explain was that they're not gonna be there for like a weekly basis. It's like, when I go camping, I go through a town, if we get tired and we would need to stop, but we can't find a campground, we're not gonna go into the local Grand Union which they do now, and park illegally. He's trying to give them a legal spot park to bring revenue to the town.
But that creates a nightmare.
What are you doing with
Say-
septic?
And how do
say-
you police it and make sure that they're only staying one night?
Right.
At
and
the
then-
fairs in town, they want to be here for a week.
And
Now I
what do
got to
they
go
do?
there every day and
Where do
count
they put
trailers.
their trash and their sewage?
Yeah.
Where
It has the septic.
It has all the septic.
You have everything ready for it.
Okay.
You have the electric ready, you have the sewage ready. He knows he has to go to the county, the town,
The
town
only other
develop and
thing
everything.
I could think of about the being more than one night is he's gonna have, they have to sign that slip when they walk in.
Well, who's going to be there? First of all, I think to get, this would require use variance.
Yes.
You look at the ICIs, there has to be 50 different, well, maybe I'm exaggerating, 25, 30 different uses that an ICI allows. Now, I think an individual needs to try to go to some of these other things. He still has his restaurant. The restaurant's still operating. We allowed, actually the zone was changed once to allow this trucking in there more. That property is really not much more than a restaurant area. It has been for years. To get a use variance, the individual has to prove hardship, and he hasn't really, there's no hardship. It's just that a fluke, this other business is pulling out. He wants to set up another business. And what we're going to do there is we're going to allow other areas in the town just because my business goes out or a business goes out in my area, I want to put in, just as Grand Union, if the Grand Union's in the town or the tops. Well, Ames is gone, so I want these campers to be in there overnight. It's going to be extra money, extra revenue. And I don't see where they're going to bring money into the town. They're stopping there and they're going. Mr. Gooley closes from November to April. Who's going to monitor it during the winter season?
Well, hopefully, they won't be
There's still travel trailers going up and down the road in the winter.
very few to
But
this
very
area.
few, but it's still, I think in order for the applicant to want that, he has to prove he can't use that property for the uses that are there right now.
No, no,
He's gonna say,
No
don't
rush
turn
me,
it over
I'm
and use it
tired.
again.
Yeah.
I'm stressed out.
Get them away,
They're going to be safe on that number.
They know that.
You get a new chairman, the board gets, meetings get longer and longer. We put it inside backwards.
They just told me it was going to do.
Give it your battery.
You switch it around. You put it in at the end instead of the beginning. That's it. We just did it right.
We're in business.
The other issue is if you rezone, when you look to rezone property, you're usually looking at large areas to rezone certain things. If you rezone this parcel, that is a classic example of spot zoning. All you're doing is zoning.
You said earlier it was illegal, right?
Correct. All you have, he's asking to rezone one parcel of land that's owned by Mr. Gould. One parcel. That's, I don't know, a couple acres, whatever, but it's not very big a parcel of land. That is the classic example of spot zoning, which is illegal. You can't do that. I mean, you're zoning something specifically because of one individual, and you can't do that.
We just rezoned it not that long ago.
The town board did that.
Yeah. I'm saying it seems like, at a whim, you gotta think about these things.
Yes. You can't, it's illegal.
I don't think it's a good use for it either.
I'm concerned about the safety of that home,
If you put a fence up around it, it's going to look there.
Correct.
Well, but maybe we can check into something else.
It's got, if you look down the ICI, there's 25, 30 different uses.
He's an IC1?
IC1, excuse me. IC1.
Well, then he could come back and ask for a special permit to have mobile home sales there.
It's
I mean,
allowed.
The same thing as having campers there.
It's allowed. It's allowed in that area.
Mobile home sales is not a campground. It's different.
Yeah, they're not hooked up to sewer and water.
Yeah. Mobile home sales is you have a couple mobile homes there to sell.
Yeah.
Not
They're not functioning.
people come in, people coming out, just
Not transient.
not transient type traffic. And I don't have any problem with people, with motor homes or campers. It doesn't matter to me. But again, once you start setting the precedent of rezoning lands for individual lots, that's your spot zoning. That's what you're doing.
I'd make a motion that we send something to the town board that what Mr. Renee is saying, that this is a typical example the spots only because you're doing one lot. And that the applicant needs to follow the allowable uses on an IC1 zone before he tries to do another business in that area.
A business that doesn't comply.
Yeah.
Need a second for that? Pam? Okay, roll call, Pam? Yes. Kathy? Joe?
Yes.
Bruce? Yes. And I vote yes. Is there anything else anyone has to bring up to the board? Discussion?
I won't be here next month on the 15th, so I don't think you need to have your alternate in place.
Alternate, hear that?
I'm gonna be here. I wanna like stay up with stuff, so.
We also should have elect a vice chairman. We always have a vice chairman step in this wonderful seat. Is it necessary? Do we have any nominations for vice chairman?
Nominate our new member.
No.
Or do you want to, you have to do it today? Give her a month?
Nice try. Yeah, we've all got those in.
With all due respect,
years
with all
of
due
work
respect to
road.
Pam, I think she should not be the vice chair at this point.
Thank you, Tom.
With all due respect.
Next month.
Well, you know, I kind of need to learn the ropes a little bit.
Yes.
I will, can I say something? First, thank you, I think it's an honor to be here, but secondly, I want you to know too that I have pre-existing schedule that goes out about 2 years of lecture that travels nationally and internationally lecturing. And there are some weeks I will be gone on Thursday, and I'll let you know ahead of time. And that's something that in the future when I schedule stuff, I'll work around your schedule, but right now, I'm about 2 years out that I'm booked. So there are going to be some times, particularly in the bad months are October and March. Those would be the two bad months, possibly also November and April.
Can't you have a video phone?
I could, yeah. But those are the times when I would be most likely not available because.
Thank you for telling us.
I make a motion. I nominate Kathy since she was chairperson the last time.
Good idea. A second.
Second. Joe? That's a nomination for...
I have no input.
No.